Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth release. As you can see, we've got another of the Wild Roars. This is the Abelisaurus, and this one, just like with the Allosaurus, is another very exciting one that I'm really happy to now have, adding into my collection. It's also another gorgeous looking sculpt, no doubt about that. Pretty interesting paint apps, not the greatest as per usual, but not terrible. The packaging is, of course, pretty much the standard, basically what we've come to know for the Rebirth packaging. You've got a shot over here, and then down here a checklist of all of the other figures that are in this wave, one of which we have reviewed. This will be 2, and then we'll just get these 2 up after. So let's pop the box open and check it out. So here is our Abelisaurus straight out of the packaging. I haven't readjusted the legs quite yet to get it in a nice natural standing position, and there we go. It does look pretty cool. The tail, I feel like, looks alright on this one. I was really excited to see a little more tail length, or at least it seemed like there was more tail length on the Allosaurus, but it doesn't seem like we have quite as much on this one, but it's not all that bad. It's okay, I guess. But definitely a really cool look for this one, especially when it comes to this like hanging skin here in the throat. But if we start here in the head sculpt, there we go. You can see the head sculpt. It looks quite nice. You've got some very impressive skin texture throughout, all sorts of larger and smaller scales. Pretty decent looking as far as that goes. We also have a very nicely painted eye with a yellow. The head is primarily a nice black tone, so we've already got the black ready and, prepared to go for that pupil. So you can see the pupil is basically just the same tone of color that we have there for the head. We've got the nostrils sculpted out right there. I was actually quite interested to see if we had ears on it, because we recently had ears on the T-Rex, but it doesn't look like we do, which is kind of weird. For the lower jaw, we've got a reddish tone, which we can see again looking pretty decent. Very vibrant scales down here as well. Again, a little variation to the different types of scales we see there. We also have those newer, much, sharper looking teeth, which also look really good. Same deal for the lower jaw. A little bit more generic on the lower jaw compared to the nicer looking teeth we have up here. But inside the mouth, you of course have the tongue sculpted out. It is painted with a pinkish tone, also very nicely textured, and you do have the pinkish tone everywhere there for the inside of the mouth. And as you move down, you do have this like red orange that we have for the lower jaw moving down into the throat, and that does overtake that kind of hanging skin right there. And again, you have some nice looking skin texture, nice scale detail and everything in that area as well. It is a little bit flexible on top of everything, a little bit of skin rolls and folds and stuff moving up here into the neck. Unfortunately, that light reddish, like red-orange tone does end there as you move down into the neck and disappear. But as you move up here into the top of the dinosaur, you can see a very interesting look to the spinal column here. It's kind of like raised up a little bit and looks quite intriguing. Very cool design that they've given this one. You can also see the scales look really good moving along the top of the head. Looks like maybe we do have a few injuries here and there, a few kind of scars on the figure, which is something that we see from time to time on Mattel sculpts. We've also got some osteoderms as you lead down. As we lead into the body, we start to get kind of like a blue striping that moves in, as the black actually kind of turns then to a striping and then disappears leading back. As we lead into the stomach, again, all sorts of variation to the scales. You've got really large scales in the center of the stomach, a little bit of a different style as you move up, much finer scales as you move down, a few skin wrinkles right there. As you lead down into the arm, we've got some nice musculature leading down, very reptilian style scales. We can also see the elbow right there. And as we move down into the hands, we do have some decently sculpted fingers. We can also see the claws are sculpted, and they do have a gloss coat, and since it is already a black, it kind of gives it the appearance of having nail paint in a way, which is nice. We also have articulation, of course, forward and back for the arm, which can swivel all the way around and also come out away from the body. Same articulation on both sides. We do, of course, also have neck articulation, but I'm pretty confident that that's all going to be tied to the action feature as per usual. But as you move along the back of the dinosaur, again, we continue to have that raised area moving along the spinal column, a little divot right there before again raising back up and then disappearing again briefly before picking back up again in the tail. Leading along, the scales continue to look very impressive, very vibrant vibrant as per usual, really crisp skin texture. You've got like some armored scoots moving along the front of the shin, moving down into the knee before disappearing. Again, more really nice scales leading down through the shin. You can also see the musculature of the figure, which is really nicely defined here, moving down the leg, even into the calf, and as we move down, you can see the ankle and everything. Really nice looking foot sculpt with some scoots down the toes. The claws look decent as far as the sculpt goes, but there isn't really any fine detail to them, though we do have dew claws. Unfortunately, though, no nail paint. It would have been nice if they actually had transitioned this back to like a black for the feet or something, because since we almost looks like, it kind of looks like we have painted claws on the hands, but now we don't on the feet, so it looks a little awkward. Also, the arms are somewhat flexible, which is nice. Again, just something to be aware of. But then you move out again into the tail. You've got more really nice scales. Again, finer scales as you follow along the back, and finer scales as you move along the underside, but larger scales moving down along the side. And as we lead out into the tail, we have a few more scars, as well as some more clusters of kind of like osteoderms and stuff picking up right there. As far as the leg articulation goes, it is just forward and back. It actually doesn't go any further back than that. And it kind of feels like we could force it forward a little bit more, but I'm not going to do that. We also have the leg articulation on this side, which does go back. And again, about that far forward. You also, of course, have the tail that does articulate, but that's part of the action feature. But you can swivel this spot as well, which is pretty fun. You do have a little curve to the tail as you lead out. And then again, we've got the opposing side, which is going to look pretty much the same as what we had seen on the first side, except for the fact that the leg is taking a step forward on this side. But paintwork-wise, detail-wise, everything looks pretty much the same on this side as it did on the first side. And as far as the sounds and action feature goes, so the action feature is exactly the same as what we had seen on the Allosaurus. So if you did see that review, it's the same action feature. It's the same action feature we've had tons of times from Mattel as well. Obviously, it can chomp. Let him finish his thing there. Obviously, it can chomp down. It can chomp up. And then you twist the tail to turn the neck and head, and you can then chomp sideways as well. Also, there is the fax app code if it wants to focus. There you go, if you wanted to add that one to your collection. But pretty cool as far as the action feature goes. Nothing groundbreaking, though. It's, again, your standard stuff from Mattel. As far as the size goes, for a length, you were looking at about 12¼ inches, or just a hair over 31 centimeters. And then for a height, about 5 inches, or about 12½ centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Abelisaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being, next to our super cool Abelisaurus from Mattel. And you can see, again, sculpt-wise, size-wise, everything's pretty much where you would expect it to be when it comes to this figure, and again, when it comes to a Wild Roar size ranged release. And one final comparison, I think the only other one we really need to do is with the Allosaurus, and you can see, again, they are roughly in the exact same size range as each other, so no real big surprises here. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth Wild Roar Abelisaurus is another super cool figure, but it does have a few issues, like the arms are definitely way too big, the fingers and hands and everything are way too big. I think if they would have improved that aspect, it wouldn't have been a half-bad version. It does, of course, have, you know, its own artistic liberties. You can see that throughout the entire course of the figure, but as per usual, Mattel always tries to make their figures look striking and memorable and just kind of giving them a little bit of a different look, and they definitely achieved that here with this one. It absolutely has a very unique look to it, so it's nothing super incredible as far as the sculpt goes, but it looks nice. It's just unfortunate that it does have a few downsides, basically in the arm area is like my biggest gripe, but the fine detail is really well done. It's really impressive, really pops on the sculpt. The paintwork is okay. It's nothing incredible, but I do quite like the red oranges in the lower jaw and moving down into the throat, and I really like how it plays off of the black there in the head. And of course the bluish tones also look pretty nice. I would say this one is definitely nicer as far as the paintwork goes than the Allosaurus, but it just needed a little bit more paintwork. Specifically, I think some paint running along the underside, and then of course painted nails, and then this one would have been good to go. We also have, articulation, but it is a little limited. And then we also have an action feature and some noises, which are pretty much what you would expect for a figure like this. So it is a really cool species choice, one that I am definitely happy to have. And again, a pretty cool figure overall. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine on Amazon.com. So check that link, go pick this up if you want it, and like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.